We're talking today with AeroChannel contributor Jack Keady about the merger between Continental and United Airlines. Jack, tell us about this deal.
Well, basically, it's a merger of giants, Darren. We have two formidable carriers in the United States combining to have a 700 aircraft largest airline in the world. Worldwide, it'll have 7% approximately of business. In the United States, it'll have 21% of the business.
How do you think this makes the other players in the industry feel? Just recent years, it was Delta and Northwest that merged. But what about the other two that are sitting on the sidelines, the other network carriers, American Airlines and U.S. Airways?
I think it makes them jealous and scared. They're afraid of being left out when the music stops and still standing. And although a U.S. Air American Airlines merger doesn't make as much sense and is quite thorny, it could happen too. Every airline still in the room will try to merge with someone else.
It seems like the merger just came about out of nowhere just in the last few weeks. There was no real long, drawn-out process between Continental and United. How did this develop?
Actually, if you look back at history in 2008, there was a conversation between United and Continental. However, the high price of fuel dissuaded them from merging. And then in the last 6 months, as you have seen, United has talked to U.S. Airways. That fell apart, and Continental decided to step in and take U.S. Airways' place. And so that's the way it happened. So it's sort of been in the back of everyone's mind for several years.
Do you think it was United's interest in the first place to have Continental be their partner rather than U.S. Airways?
Some people are suggesting that, and I'm of that school, that U.S. Airways was perhaps merely bait to bring Continental into the game.
What sort of struggles do you think they'll have, regulatory approvals and otherwise, in getting this deal done?
Well, there's quite a few struggles. Even though the combined carriers will only have a 21% market share, it still has to pass the Justice Department antitrust issue, has to pass the Department of Transportation okay also. And that could mean, for example, at Newark, where Continental has a majority of scarce landing and takeoff slots, and United has some more, that they could be forced to give up some routes, some landing slots at certain airports, and some other issues. Don't forget also, Darren, that in the European Union has to have a say in this also. And of course, the unions all have to get together and agree on it too.
That seems to be one of the points that's been brought up by a lot of commentators, whereas Continental Airlines seems to have had a more harmonious relation with its employees, at least over the past decade, whereas United, it's been a little more friction between the two sides.
Indeed, and as part of the package, the chief executives on both sides get tremendous severance pay. And the pilots union and other unions see this, and they say, wait a minute, back in the dark days, we gave up a lot of our pay and a lot of benefits. Now that everyone's coming together, we want those back. So there could be a contentious issue.
And what about on the part of the traveling public? What impact will this have for you or I who are just going to buy a ticket?
Well, the two carriers will say that their increased efficiencies will benefit the traveling public, but frankly, Darren, when you have two airlines combined and you have less competition, you have less competition. So I don't think we'll see any fire sales coming out of the combined carriers.
What about locally here in Los Angeles? What impact, if any, do you think it'll have on LAX?
Not too many. Continental is located in Terminal 6, right near United. As they do merge, a few gates might get released. Of course, LAX doesn't need free gates now, but at some time in the future, they may come in handy. So there will be some consolidation.